if you're new here, maybe if you're not, you probably know what time it is. I make art and book related videos, and today I'm doing a video about all the books I would like to read hopefully this summer. There's just over 20 books I believe here, and there are I think 2 or 3 that I do not personally own because they are not out yet. I just haven't got my hands on a copy of them. So yeah, there's a bunch of books, and summer is the time I usually read the most books because I have a lot of free time. No school. Usually I'm working a lot in the summer, but most of the times I don't have long shifts, so I find that I come home and I just want to relax. So the thing I do to relax is read a book. So yeah, I thought, why not just give you guys a haul of all the books I would hopefully like to get a hold of reading this month. My mic did not work last video, and the audio quality was not the best, so let's hope it is a lot better in this one. So the first book I would like to talk about is the book that I'm currently reading. I'm not that far into it. I'm only about 45 pages in. Considering I started this about 8 days ago, is not a good thing. But I've been in a bit of a reading slump because I've just been drawing so much, and I've just been working so much, and I've been doing a lot of other things. But hopefully, now that it's summer, I can do all my reading. So this book is by an author that I am almost in love with. I enjoy her books quite a lot, and they're very lyrical the way they're written, and they're just so insane. And that is a book by V.E. Schwab. I fell in love with them reading Vicious, and now I own Vengeful, and another book of theirs called The Near Witch. So you know I had to get my hands on their newest book, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Okay, not very far in, but the 45 pages I have read are absolutely insane, and the writing style is just stunning. I want to read every single book they've ever written because it's so insane. I can't even describe the way they write. But it's just so encapsulating. It just draws you in, and you can't help but read this book. In this book, it takes place in 3 different timelines, and it follows 3 different girls who just happen to be vampires and just happen to be a little bit gay. And by a little bit gay, I mean a lot gay. There's some freaky things happening in this book. But yeah, I don't need to guess too many spoilers, except yeah, it follows these main 3 girls and their struggles through life, and all of a sudden they become vampires, and their life takes a toll, or their life takes a turn, and they decide to devote their lives to one thing, and each girl goes on their own separate journey. And yeah, that's Bury Our Bones. Okay, I think I'm gonna do 2 more books that are just came out, I would like to say. Yeah, since this one came out on the 10th, I believe. This next book came out in the beginning of June, I believe, or almost the end of May. I'm actually not sure, but I got it literally today. I was at the bookstore with my girlfriend and my friends, and we looked on, they have a system where you can just look at anything up and see if it's in store, and we saw that they had 5 copies, and we're like, yo, we have to snatch a copy up. And that is nobody in particular. I actually do not know a lot about this book, other than I'm in a book club, and we're reading this book, and I just got it now. But we're reading this we have until August to read this book, I think. We might shorten that gap, but I just got this book now, so I'm very excited to read it. Every other book I've read for this book club has been insane, and the person who moderates it, they've always have great taste in the books that they suggest and the books that we end up picking. It's just insane. I'll link my Fable down below, which is where this is on, and you can look through my page and you'll find the link to all the book clubs I'm in. It's the Sapphic book club I'm in, and every month we pick a new book, and they're always insane. The last one I read for them was One Last Stop. I didn't do a review for that one, but I can. It was really good. But yeah, nobody in particular. I don't know much about this book other than it's about a princess and I believe just a regular old girl, and they're in boarding school together, and they're gay. I'm gonna read to you. I'll read to you what's in the little blurb here so we can both understand what's happening in this book. Princess Rosemary of Adam. This is fantasy, so I'm probably gonna mispronounce this. Princess Rosemary of Henland can't afford distractions. She's working tirelessly to repair her image following a scandal that lost the trust of both her country and her best friend. Unfortunately, when a beautiful and funny new student joins her boarding school, Rose finds finds herself quite distracted indeed, attending both Brantpath College and on a music scholarship. A talented pianist, Danny expects to be an outcast among the wealthy children of the elite, but she is pleasantly surprised to be taken in by the ex-best friend of the princess. The more Danny gets to know about her new classmates, the more intrigued she becomes by Rose. When somebody sees something they shouldn't and rumors circulate throughout Henland, Rose and Danny must either find a way to deflect the ever-increasing eyes on their relationship or end it altogether. Because one thing is clear, Rose's fragile reputation takes any more hits, the palace will do whatever it takes to separate Rose and Danny forever. Oh my goodness. So yeah, it's like a pretty average girl, ex-princess, falling in love at a boarding school with high stakes. And I was kind of off-put by this because it has this like half-tony cover. I've seen a few straight romances have this cover, and I don't know, the cover just threw me off of the romance in general, even if it could have been a good story. So I saw this and was like, I don't even want to read this. But it's sapphic. And again, that it's sapphic overrules it for me. And also, something really funny, I'm not gonna like say their names, but these two characters look a lot like my two friends who are in a lesbian relationship together. I would say sapphic, because they're not, one of them isn't a lesbian. I'm validating sexualities, guys. But it looks so much like them, and we're like, oh my god, it does. We have to buy this book now. I'm such a yapper, 5 minutes long. Okay, so this next book, I heard about this book right after it got picked up, so it wasn't even finished. They had just like announced the blurb of this book, and it's like, get ready for this new book by this author, and here's what it's about. And I was like, oh my god, I need this. I had it to my cart. I favorited it. I bookmarked it on Twitter every single, and I had an alert for every time on Twitter or on Instagram that like the book was talked about. Like I get a notification so I could see it. I'm crazy. But it's another sapphic book. And it's a retelling of one of my favorite classical stories that like I've been in love with since I was like 4 years old. And that is A Treachery of Swans by A.B. Pornack. I'm probably mispronouncing it. But she's a Canadian author, and I've heard about her first book. I have not read it yet, and I have mixed feelings about it, so I don't know if I'm going to read it. But if this book is good, I will be reading it. But it's A Treachery of Swans. It's a Swan Lake retelling about the black swan and the good swan, the white swan, the regular swan, and then falling in love. And again, I heard about the pitch, and I was like, okay, I need this book. And now I have it in my hands. Like, look at how beautiful they are. And I'm actually obsessed with the artist who does the cover art for this book, so I'm going to buy another one of their books that they did the cover art for, just because it's got good art, but also it's a good book. I don't know if you want me to read the inside of this little blurb after that, because I'm not good at reading things. But I think, yeah, it's a Sapphic Swan Lake retelling. That should be enough to get you into it, because that was enough to get me into it. But yeah, the black swan and the white swan, they fall in love, and they save the whole kingdom, because there's like a threat to the kingdom and like an evil sorceress and stuff. And yeah, it's pretty much like it's the inexact retelling of Swan Lake, but she falls in love with the black swan. And if you don't know what the Swan Lake is, I don't want to spoil that for you. It's been decades, and if you like, come on, man. Oh my god, I have so many more books to get through. Will I say all these books? And will I read them all? Probably, actually, because I have this thing called Audible. Okay, so I'll say about the next 3 books. So the next book is a book I want to read because I want to read books that are inspired by this book. And you can't read an inspiration without reading it. Like, again, this is inspired by Swan Lake. It's a retelling of Swan Lake. So I have to read the original and understand the original before I can read the retelling, you know? So, and that's Dantes Inferno. I've actually never read Dantes Inferno, guys. Surprisingly. But if I never got assigned it for English, I probably never read it if it was a classic. But now that I'm a grown adult, I've decided, you know, the classics are actually really good books. We need to be reading the classics. So, got my hands on Dantes Inferno. There's one book on here that is a Dantes Inferno kind of retelling. So I was like, you know what? I kind of need to read Dantes Inferno first. So yeah, I'm already like 20 pages in, and I like it. I didn't expect it to be so like verbose. Like I didn't realize it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It's poetry almost. It's written like a play. I didn't expect that. But I probably should have. But yeah, okay. And the next 2 books, they're kind of classics. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to describe them without saying it, but I've decided to finally read the Greek classics. And I thought, what better to start off with than Homer? So I'm gonna read the Iliad and the Odyssey. I've read Circe and A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I want to read more like adaptations of Greek myths. So I thought, I actually kind of also need to read the original myths, just like I need to read the original stories before I do that. Because it really does help you understand. You can't just go into something without understanding what it's based on. You're like, what is this? What is this? What is that? You need to read the original and the roots. You need to understand. You know what I mean? You know what I mean. So yeah, I'm gonna read the Odyssey and the Iliad. I don't know much about them other than I know about the Odyssey, and I know about the journey he takes through the sea. I know he goes to Circe's Island. I know about Scylla and Charybdis. I've heard about these myths. I'm a really big Percy Jackson fan, which is another reason why I want to read this, because season 2 is gonna come out, and if you didn't know, season 2 or the second book is basically a retelling of the Odyssey, minus when he gets to the island of Calypso. Yeah, Calypso. But Percy eventually meets Calypso in the 4th book. So again, it's a retelling of the Odyssey. I don't know if Rick's ever confirmed that, but you can see parallels in every single book that he retells and refollows the same story of a Greek hero. And I don't know if they do that in Heroes of Olympus with Roman myths, because I'm not in any way, shape, or form into Roman mythology. But I could be. If people convince me, I could be. But yeah, we're gonna read some more Greek myths. And I know all about the Iliad, because again, yeah. The freaking Song of Achilles. That book killed me, let me tell you, it killed me. I'm gonna put these over here, because I don't know if I'm gonna talk about those ones. Okay. The next book is Julie Chan is Dead. I don't know a lot about this book, but let me tell you what I do know, and it's kind of like a summary, but it's just a summary of what I know. But basically, Julie Chan is an estranged woman. She lives by herself. She's kind of distanced herself from all of her family, and she's just kind of by herself. And she doesn't mind being lonely, but eventually she kind of does, and she's like, oh, I kind of don't want to be alone. And then all of a sudden, her estranged sister, who's also her twin sister, who also happens to be very famous, dies. And she is with her sister when she dies. So she's like, you know what? I kind of don't want to be a nobody anymore. I'm going to be my sister. So she pretends that she's the one that died, and then she becomes her sister. And it's all fun and games pretending to be her sister online and stuff and avoiding the public until her her sister's friend group invites them to go out on a weekend retreat vacation thing, and she's like, oh freak, it would be really, really weird if I decline this, because these are my homegirls, these are my best friends. She's been kind of texting them, but they think something's off with her, which is kind of why they suggested this retreat. So she's like, you know what, I'm gonna go on this retreat. And now she has to fake being her sister to all of her sister's best friends in person, the sister that she hasn't known in years. And it's really crazy, and things are gonna unravel and be fast, and it's kind of like a thriller mystery vibe. And I really want to pick this book up because I had just finished, when I bought it, I literally had just finished reading Yellowface, and I like the idea of literally someone being someone when they die and going, oh yeah, I'm just gonna steal your identity or steal things from you, and it's just gonna be so chill because you're dead and no one will know because you're the only person that knew. And it's that's the kind of thriller I like. That's the only kind of thriller you can get me to read, except for this one. This next one. Oh, I understand when this was a $5 book. I don't want to talk about that. But this next book is also kind of a thriller. I've read through the back, but I don't want to read it for you guys again. But you know what? I'll read it for you guys. This book is called Dear Miss Metropolitan. It's about 3 girls who go missing, and only 4 of them get found. But the neighborhood they go missing is a very it's like a small town. It's a very small town, and everyone in this neighborhood knows each other. And if a noise happens in one house, the neighbor next door knows that something has happened. It's a very well-known neighborhood, and everyone communicates with each other. They're like, how did we not know that there were 3 girls missing? Except for this one journalist who always had a little suspicion that something might have been weird, and she's Miss Metropolitan, and she kind of unravels this case. So let me read to you the back. Fern seeks refuge from her mother's pill-popping and her boyfriend via soul train. Gwen finds salvation in the music of Prince, much to her congregation's dismay, and Janessa, miles ahead of her classmates, is a brainy and precarious enigma. None of this matters to Boss Man, the monster who abducts them and holds them captive in a dilapidated house in Queens. One night they are rescued. Throngs line the block, claiming ignorance. So, like, people are just standing there, like, we didn't know anything. Among them is lifetime resident Miss Metropolitan, advice columnist, like someone who writes columns, for the local weekly. But how could anyone have missed a horror story unfolding right across the street? And why is it that only 2 of the 3 girls, now women, were found? The mystery haunts each page of this extraordinary first novel that explores intersections of grief, rage, personal strength, and healing, and what we owe to one another. Like, I saw this in the discount section of my book. Like, it was like 3 for $10, or you could get an individual book for $3. And I was like, this is the kind of thriller I want to read, so I picked it up. Okay, this next book is also one I'm currently reading. I know, 2 books at once, guys. I'm reading this one on audiobook, but I figured I might as well pick up the physical copy as well, because the cover is absolutely beautiful, and I also might want to reread it and annotate it and do all sorts of stuff with it. And that is The Absinthe Underground. I don't know all that much about it, actually, other than it's sapphic, and it takes place in a, like, kind of dystopian fantasy world about these 2 kind of girls with these very troubled pasts who are roommates now, and they're kind of both desperately in love with each other, trying to make rent, when all of a sudden they discover the Absinthe Underground, and there's, like, this mystery around it that they have to kind of explore and unravel. And it came out last year, and again, with this book, I was really intrigued by it. I heard right about when it was released, and I was like, this is really intriguing, I want to get it. But it just, like, literally was not in store for, like, a whole year. I couldn't find it in stores for a whole year. And then I found the audiobook cover, I started listening to it, and then I found the physical cover, and I was like, yes, thank God. Okay. Okay, this next book I picked up because I've heard very interesting things about this writer, but I never wanted to read some of their work because she writes a lot of straight romance, and I'm sorry, I just don't like straight people. That feels mean, but you can see the giant pride flag in the back. So I don't like straight romance all that much, unless it's, like, in a book that's, like, got, like, other aspects, like, you know, fantasy thriller, or I just, like, really like the author and desperately overcome. So I'm like, you know what? If I want to read their other straight romances, I'll read something else to get me into it to see if I like how they write, and then I'll be like, read the other books. So I picked up this one, and it's Fable for the End of the World, which is kind of like a sapphic Hunger Games retelling. Because basically it's like, I think once a year, I can't find it. I have to look it up. But basically, like, once a year, they have to, like, they pick someone to, like, celebrate, like, the winning of the war, and a bunch of, like, people from, like, the capital or whatever, or, like, their capital, or a bunch of, like, the rich people get to, like, come and hunt her down for sport. So instead of, like, people killing each other, they pick a victim, and, like, everyone who's rich gets to vote, and they get to pick whoever they want to go in and kill her, and it's another rich person, so they get to, like, hunt her down and kill her for money. So, like, they pay to go and do that. I don't know, it's crazy. But as she's being hunted, she kind of meets this girl, and she kind of falls in love with this girl, and yeah, we'll see how it goes from there. But yeah, I mainly wanted to pick it up because look at how beautiful this cover is. It's holographic, and it has bright edges. I'm sorry, but I fuck with bright edges. Okay, another book. This book I picked up, I picked it up because it was on a discount table, and it was also a special edition book, and oh no, it's got a little stained, and it's Swords Crossed. It's got, let me show you. Okay, this is what it looks like, but it's got sprayed edges, and it's got a design on the end papers, and I was like, you know what? I want to get it. And at the time I got it, also a lot of people were talking about it, so I was like, you know what, I'll get it. And it's kind of like an enemies to lovers book, and I picked it up also because it's queer. I love queer books, and I don't have a lot of like, but I picked it up because I don't have a lot of like men loving men books. I don't have a lot of like gay books. I have a lot of sapphic lesbian books, but I don't have a lot of like gay man romance books, except for like the Song of Achilles, which is really sad to me. I need more of these books, so I picked this one up, and it's kind of like enemies to lovers, but it's a prince, and he really desperately kind of needs a bodyguard. And the bodyguard who's most affordable to him also happens to be this man that swindled him. So yeah, he becomes his bodyguard, and they kind of fall in love. And it's yeah, and he also really does not want to marry this woman. He kind of is marrying this woman for reputation. And that's all. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna read two. The next two books are individual books, and the other ones are series. So we can get through that. Okay, the next book is She Who Became the Sun. Again, I wanted to read this one because it's sapphic, and also it's kind of a retelling. It's like a mixture. I don't know what it's. Oh, I forget it's a mixture with, but it's kind of like a Mulan retelling where she's like not loved from her family, and she kind of wants to bring honor to her name, and she joins the military. But apparently, it's also a fantasy book, so I'm very excited to read it. And then there's also like a I don't know if it's a sequel or if it's just like another book in the same universe, but there's also like a gay book in this series. So if it's good and I really like how the author writes, I'm going to read the gay book and expand that section. Okay. Okay, this is another book. I love books, guys. I love reading. Okay, this next book I also have on audiobook, and I've been waiting to read it for a very long time because a lot of my friends were talking about it, and it's also very heavily entwined with Greek mythology, and that is A Song to Drown Rivers. I was gifted this one for my birthday, and it has, as you can tell, it's a very beautiful cover. It has the sprayed edges. It has the designed end papers, and then it's on the back cover. It's got this koi fish, and it goes around, and then it has this one. I don't know. I found it really cool, but I have this one in an audiobook, and I figured, you know what, Greek mythology retellings and just Greek mythology in general is really fun to read during the summer because it's so I don't know, something about summer vibes gives me Greek mythology vibes, so I love to read a good Greek mythology retelling during the summer. Every time I read Percy Jackson, it ends up being in the summer, so you know, I just have to like interlink the two. Sorry, I fixed the camera. I couldn't with it being too hot. That was my cat. He knocked it over. Okay. The next one is something that I've technically already started. I've read the first book in this series, but I would like to finish the rest of the series before the summer is over. And that is the Jasmine Throne. I finished all of the first book, and it was absolutely insane. I loved it. There are even moments that I cried. And I fell in love with the sapphic romance, and that was told, so I desperately want to read the other ones. I'm on like the second or third chapter of the Oleander Sword. But yeah, I really want to finish this book series because I've fallen in love with it. I don't know how to describe how it's like. It takes place in, it's not India, but it takes place in Parijat Vidba. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm trying to as hard as the audiobook, trying to be as hard as, like, say it as correctly as the audiobook, but the person reading the audiobook was British. But it takes place in Parijat Vidba, which is like a fantasy aspect of India, and there's a big cultural war going on. There's a big divide. People are fighting over religion and stuff. One of the princesses is the princess is being kind of held hostage, because she did not want to die. She did not want to sacrifice herself by throwing herself on a pyre and like burning to death with the rest of her friends for committing acts of rebellion. She was like, no, I don't want to die. I'm not doing this. I didn't do anything wrong. So her brother sentences her to like be locked away and to think about her actions, and that is brutal because someone is watching her and the person is drugging her, and it's very abusive and it's very sad. And we also have our other main character, who is Priya, who is kind of like, she's posing as like this poor servant girl, but she used to be one of the children of, I forget what it's called. It's been a couple days actually. but she is part of the religion that is being persecuted and that were also put and burned to death. So she's hiding in. She also has magical powers. And there's a lot of crazy like political war things going on, and you get to see the perspectives of her and the princess who's being held captive, and a lot of the other political figures in this kingdom who are dealing with this. And then we also find out that they're trying to overthrow the emperor because he's a horrible guy, and they're trying to get their brother on the throne. But by the end of the Jasmine Throne, we find out that the brother, he does not want to be on the throne. And there's also a prophecy, and it turns out the younger sister, Princess Marlene, she's prophesied to be the queen. And then they the Oleander Sword, and the Lotus Empire, where we find out how Princess Marlene fights her way to become Empress Marlene. And yeah, and when we get to the Oleander Sword, Marlene and Freya have they haven't broken up, but they have separated, and they are not together. But they are together on the cover of the Lotus Empire. So between these two books, they have to reunite and get together and be more gay, lesbian life, guys. But yeah, it's insane. And if you love books about the falling of empires and the rebuilding of empires and women becoming queens and sapphic romances, I would 100% recommend this book for you. Okay, I think we are down to the last ones. Okay, yeah, there's technically only like 2 more books. Okay, so the next one is a series. I haven't started it yet, but I would like to at least start the series this summer, and that is The Poppy War. I was gifted this for my birthday back in December, and I haven't started it yet. But now that I've gotten to the point where it's summer and I have a lot of free time, I'm going to try to read through all of my solo books and also try to read one series at the same time in the background. So I'm reading the Jasmine Throne now for June for Pride Month, and then hopefully for July and August I can get through the Poppy War. And also I returned it, so I no longer had it, but I had a copy, like one of the sprayed edges copy of the Poppy War, and I returned it because I was like, I'm not just gonna have one. They don't have the whole series though. But I went to Indigo, and it turns out the Dragon Republic, there is now a copy with the sprayed edges where it also has illustrations and the end papers. So I'm thinking I might go back and get the Poppy War and the Dragon Republic one, and then also when it comes out, the Burning God one, and have them on because I actually do quite enjoy the sprayed edges and like the special edition books. I am falling for that propaganda, but it's only if it's a book that I only either have one of it, so it's the only version that I have. So like A Song for Rivers, I only own the sprayed edges copy. I would only get like I only want to get the Burning God copy now with sprayed edges and stuff because I genuinely like love R.F. Kuang and her books, and I'm only getting it if I genuinely truly do love the Poppy War and what's in it and how it's written. You know, like I own my original box set of The Hunger Games, and it's all annotated, and I have Sunrise on the Reaping and stuff. But I also have a separate The Battle of Songbirds and Snakes that has the movie cover on it, and I will not be annotating that one because I have all the things annotated. Like I want to get it also so I won't touch it with annotations. If that makes sense? Like I want to have an annotated and unannotated copy. If that makes sense. But yeah, I would like to be also reading The Poppy War. So the next 2 books I actually do not physically have with me. One of them is Catabasis, that comes out in August. So I don't know if I'll be able to physically read it by the summertime. It's over because it comes out August 26th. But it is on my summer reading list. And another one is called, I figured it out, If We Survive This. And I really just found out about this book on Twitter, so I was like, you know what? I do want to read this. Would like to read this. I request to read this. And it's kind of like it's not a retelling, but it's a story about a girl living in the zombie apocalypse and just for surviving and what her mental status is like. And yeah, I had 2 other books here, but I feel like this video is getting really, really long. And honestly, will I read all these books this summer? Who knows? So yeah, that was the video. That is my summer. That is all the books I would like you to read this summer. This is my summer reading challenge. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.